This is Smarter San Diego TV.
Here is what they don't want you to know.
Owning a home is the cornerstone of any good financial plan or retirement strategy. I mean, that's the real reason we buy real estate.
You've got to be smarter if you want to be successful. That's what this show is for.
This is going to blow your mind. You're going to share this with everyone you know.
I guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else.
If you do nothing else in your lifetime to save for retirement other than own your home free and clear, you're going to be okay.
And now, here's your host, Derek Evans.
Welcome to Smarter San Diego TV. This is the place right here where you get smarter, and it's all commercial free. Today's show, as usual, jam-packed with amazing guests, as we'll first speak with Phoebe Chongchua. She will tell us everything that's changed about media and how companies are now able to become their own media. Then we'll chat with Nicole Hazelton, our downtown expert. She'll tell us everything you need to know before you buy a home in downtown. Next, we'll speak with Cahan, real estate investor and mortgage guru. He'll share with us a huge secret about the mortgage world in San Diego. Then we'll talk to Anthony Manzon. He's going to dissect the 91913 area code and give us some major insight. Next, we'll chat with the Harms team. They'll expand on their series of solutions for underfunded retirement and how to use a reverse mortgage as a financial tool. And finally, we'll speak with Elizabeth Story. We'll discuss whether or not the market in Carmel Valley is too hot or not. It's all coming up next, right here on Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else. Our next guest is a top podcaster on iTunes. She is the brand journalist. Please welcome to the show, Phoebe Chongchua. Phoebe, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. Do you remember the last time you were here?
Yes, I can't believe it. It looks amazing.
So you are someone I've been following for a long time. You're doing podcasts 3 times a week now, right?
Yes, for my show.
For your show.
I also do client podcasting, and I'm on another show with a company in Australia, which is coincidentally talking about brand journalism, content marketing, storytelling.
Right, which you've always been so good at. Seen you on TV for years back in the day. I want to talk to you about TV, but I don't think we should go a bit further before we have you tell your story. Tell people who may not know who you are a little bit about Phoebe.
Well, I started out here in San Diego, which is very unusual in the TV market, and I worked for just about every station at the time. Now, of course, there are many more stations today, including the bloggers and the internet channels, but I worked for Channel 10 primarily as a newscaster.
Okay, and at some point you decided to make a move away from TV. Do you remember why you did that or how that all came about?
It's, a very sort of a tragic story. I left because my father was dying of prostate cancer. This is about 14 years ago. But since then, a lot of folks have seen me on TV as a brand journalist, and we'll get into that.
Yeah.
So I have been working in television for more than 20 years. But when my father was dying of prostate cancer, he was here in the San Diego marketplace. Things were really changing. There was, sort of not quite on the burgeoning stages of social media yet, or YouTube videos like you folks are doing here, or even really creating your own shows. There was a lot more involved to it. But what I saw was a platform to enter into the web space, and that's where I play today.
Yeah, absolutely, as the brand journalist. So
Absolutely.
Let's talk about that. What is the brand journalist brand, and what is the brand journalist advantage, as you call it?
So the Brand Journalism Advantage is a podcast that I do, and for those of you who wonder what exactly is a podcast, many people still say, in fact, I think as many as 3 out of 5 might not know what a podcast is. It's really just a radio show. Or, like I was telling you, a video show. So you can have video podcasts, or you can have radio. I chose radio. I actually started with PBS, KPBS, right here in San Diego, in radio. So my roots are really tied to audio. And I chose that because you can be rollerblading, you can be at the gym, you can be cooking, and you're not going to miss anything. And we know that you have a very close connection when I'm on your phone, because that's where I reside, on people's phones. They actually download the content. Goes to your iPhone, your smartphone, you've got it right there. So I'm taking up some of the most precious and valuable real estate on your phone. And then I'm connected in the earbuds to my audience. And that creates a really intimate relationship.
You said something that's very interesting to me, that you can do a video podcast. Now I've known that you can always, do that on
Right.
YouTube and Vimeo and those types of platforms, but can you do that in like iTunes? and
Oh,
stuff?
absolutely.
Really?
And they're off the hook, let me tell you. So if you think about how many, I can't think of the exact figure for blogs, right? But blogging's been around decades. And if you think about how many blogs come online and how hard it is to compete there, the audience is only in the hundreds of thousands. And you go, what? But I mean, it's in the millions with blogs. So if you do a video podcast, if you took this one and you sent it to iTunes, you would have an audience like that and growing fast. And it would just be another channel for you. But it really creates the opportunity to see it on demand. And so when you look at YouTube, you go, oh, well, that's what YouTube does. Well, not exactly. Look at the platform. And believe me, YouTube's a large part of my income. So it's very important to me. But when you look at podcasting, you really own it and you have the whole platform. You create it and build it around your website. So it's, as I said, very intimate, very dynamic for you.
You said something there I think a lot of people are going to tune into. You make money on YouTube. How do you make money on YouTube? Do you want to go into that?
Well, I am not one of the top YouTubers, but I certainly use it as a platform. So I have various channels for my brands. And I mentioned that I have an internet channel. So when I left Channel 10, I started building what was maybe an e-zine at the time or a web magazine. My flagship was Live Fit magazine. It's now transformed, and like I say, I like to call it, correction is direction. I followed the marketplace, and I turned it into PCIN.TV, so Phoebe Chongchua Internet Network TV. And what I do is I source to YouTube, and then through that, you can run commercials, just like you do for this show or any other show that's on television. You have those commercial spots, and so
We're
then
commercial
you're
free.
paid. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Well, good
Just want
for
to throw
you.
that in there. Smarter San Diego TV, we make you smarter than everyone else, commercial free. Sorry, go ahead.
That's good, but those sponsors, or however you want to, just like KPBS is commercial free.
Right.
We all know there's.
You gotta get money from somewhere.
You got to bring in the sponsors. You got to have that. So however you want to do it, and actually that's a good point to talk about because the 30-second spot is long gone.
Isn't it?
And that's where brand journalism comes in. That's where the storytelling comes in. So we mentioned the Brand Journalism Advantage podcast,
Right.
in that we're teaching brands that every executive today has to be a marketer. They have to do more than put their LinkedIn profile up and think, well, I'm the big executive of XYZ company. You have to tell your story and you have to emote. So there's acting involved in that. That's where, even playwrights are good at this. But when you marry together a brand journalist, which is really nothing more than a journalist married together with skills in marketing, when you have those two skills together, and maybe a little bit of the drama, I did a little bit of that in my younger years, then you have really a perfect scenario to tell great stories.
Yeah, and stories are what people pay attention to.
That's right, and if
Right.
you look at the commercials, look at the Super Bowl commercials.
Yep.
They were all stories. Did you notice that they were mostly, very cinema driven, and they were about a minute in length because they needed more time to tell a story.
Right. Yeah, and the story is ultimately how you really capture someone and get them to see the entire message. So you'll notice a lot of these commercials now, they're not branded until the very end. I think this is really the big question in journalism and brand journalism, whatever type of journalism or branding that you're doing, is what does the future look like for journalism, especially branding, with social media now becoming not just a big thing that everyone's doing, but actually becoming quite noisy. So what do you think is the future of those two things based on the current state of social media?
Well, I love it because you're turning the tables. I've done 160 episodes with guests for the Brand Journalism Advantage podcast, and we asked the question, what's the future look like in 2025? Let's, project out. And I got to tell you, brand journalism, storytelling is going to be the pinnacle turning point for marketing. The marketing department will be higher level executives, even more so
Tell us
than
a little
they
bit
are
about
today.
being
They'll
in
be
LA
infiltrated
and breaking into
every
acting.
department
What's that like?
of
It's a
your
tough
brand.
business, but you
What I
just
mean
got to
by
work at it,
that
go to
is
class, go on auditions,
brands will
just
start
keep
to form what we
your
call
head high
brand
and just
newsrooms.
yeah,
So
don't give up.
essentially what you're doing
You
is
do
your
modeling
content
shoots like
here.
you
You're
did for
building out
us
this
with the
brand
Live Fit
newsroom.
magazine
Other
fashion
people look to it and may take portions of it. They may quote people from your show. When you are a brand that does that, let me give you just an example of someone I had on my show, Cleveland Clinic. So you have Cleveland Clinic, and then you have, where you have just the website, and you go and you learn about insurance and you learn things, about healthcare and doctors. It's pretty much a website that you go to maybe once, right? And then I'm done with that. But you have Cleveland Clinic's Health Hub that gets 3 million visitors a month.
Wow.
And how did they do that? They formed a brand newsroom. Some people call them media properties, media outlets. Brand newsroom is the perfect term because you bring in brand journalists, you run it like a TV news station, like a radio news station, like a print, publication, and then you source out your stories. And by doing this, they actually captured a larger audience share, and they captured so much of the media attention that the media would actually start to pick up the stories and then run. So you can see, now what does this do for a brand? Large or small? You can say, well, that's a big brand. You can do it with a small brand too. Large or small, it enables you to be the media, bypass the journalists like myself back in the day where you had to bang on our door and try to get the press release to us. That's so old school. This is new journalism. And the new way to tell your own story is more effective, and it reaches the people who really care about it. And you can also get traditional media to jump on board. But who breaks the stories more often?
It's not them anymore. It's people on the street. You heard it here
It's your brand journalist.
You heard it here first from Phoebe Chongchua. Phoebe, thank you so much for being here today. I really
loved
appreciate it. Thank you so much. That's Phoebe Chongchua, the brand journalist. Stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else. Our next guest is the Smarter San Diego Downtown Real Estate Community Connection and expert. Please welcome back to the show, Nicole Hazelton. Nicole, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Great to have you here. One of my favorite subjects is always downtown, and you're one of my favorite people, so this is really exciting for me. Things you need to know before you buy a home in downtown. There's a lot of people who want to live in downtown. There's a lot of appeal to downtown. People are coming from the burbs down there. We're seeing that buildings are going up everywhere. But there's some things people should know before they buy a home in downtown.
Buying downtown is very different. As you know, it's just condo lifestyle.
Right.
So there's so many things to take into consideration when you're relocating to downtown. I think one of the biggest things is considering rules and regulations within a community.
And so when you say a community, you're talking about a building, basically.
Right.
Okay.
When you're buying into a building, there are rules that come into play. So you're going to get this big package of rules and regulations. So it can be from something as simple to how you need to schedule your move-in with the concierge or with the building, or if your movers have to be registered through the building and approved on their vendor approved list. They obviously have to have insurance and they have to be bonded. It can be something as simple as what kind of patio furniture can you have on your balcony? Can you have an umbrella? Can you have a barbecue? If you're a pet parent, that comes into play because there are restrictions on how many pets you can have, what type of breed of pet you can have, the sizes, the number, if you can have reptiles or not. Some buildings like the Meridian downtown, they require you to, if you cannot carry your pet, you have to take the service elevator.
Really?
So there might just be different ways for you to access the building if you have a larger breed dog. So those are things that come into play also.
Or if you're not a dog person at all.
Right.
Then you really should take a look at it because there are certain places that are more dog friendly than others.
Absolutely. And if you don't want to be stuck in an elevator with a big dog, then you want to find out what the community is like before you move in.
I would recommend that highly. But there's a couple things, Nicole, that I'd like to ask you about that I think are extremely undervalued in the listing price of a lot of these places, which is parking and storage. Because you're moving from a house to a 2-bedroom condo in downtown, it's going to be very exciting. It's going to be the most exciting time of your life. That day when you move in and you're downtown and you walk outside and it's all going on, you're going to feel the best you've ever felt. I promise you that. I've been there. But you got to think about some of these little things that while you're on that high, you may not be thinking about. I think that storage and parking are huge.
Storage and parking are a big one, and there's no way I can sugarcoat that parking is a challenge downtown. And once you're in your parking space, it's very easy to get around. And yes, the day that you walk outside of your building and you live downtown and you're an occupant, it's super exciting. Verifying what parking spaces transfer with a unit, and understanding that some parking spaces are deeded to you on title and some are just assigned by the homeowners association.
Interesting.
So just double checking and cross-referencing the numbers that the HOA have on file versus what's on the title report if they are. And the same thing goes with a storage unit. So back in the REO days in 2009, I think it was, there was a unit downtown where the owner had sold off both of his parking spaces that were deeded to him, and then the unit foreclosed, and the unit had to sell with no parking spaces whatsoever.
Ooh, good luck.
Yeah, good luck with
that.
that. It did sell eventually. I think somebody purchased it that utilizes the trolley stations. But yeah, so understanding the differences between whether it's deeded or assigned by the HOA, confirming which space it is, and especially finding the location of the parking space before you move into the building. So a lot of people, when they're on a walking tour of their building, they're popping out of the elevator on P3 or P4, not realizing that they just went down 3 or 4 levels to get there. And when they're in their car, they have to drive around in a circle a couple of times to get to their space. And then looking at guest parking for your guests, how big are the spaces? So I had some clients that recently relocated from the Grand to the Legend. They were very spoiled with guest parking at the Grand and bigger parking spaces, which was not at the Legend. So it was a little bit of a shock at first.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what I'm talking about, because you need to know what that value is before you go and you're closed. Once you're closed, you're in there, you're there.
Right.
And that's that. So like the Legend, for example, is a good one to talk about, because the Legend is known for having really high HOA fees. It's inside, it's basically part of Petco Park.
One of the only communities built on a ballpark.
Yeah, which is crazy, and it's an amazing place to go visit. But you got high HOA fees, and like you said, there's a lot of levels to the parking. The spaces are smaller, so that may not matter to some people. Some people may not care at all. But if you drive an Expedition and you aren't gonna get a smaller car anytime soon, you should probably take that into consideration, because street parking, not exactly near the Legend. But I've noticed with the Legend that the prices seem to have really stabilized in that building, and I think it's the higher HOA fees that are probably one of the reasons for that.
You know, one thing that people overlook too is when they're buying into a community, whether they're a homeowner that's primary occupying the unit or a second home or an investor, is some of the HOAs will restrict how many rental units are allowed. So there's, Cityfront Terrace in the Marina District has a restriction of 25% off-site owners. So if you're purchasing as an investor and you're looking to rent the unit out, if that ratio is already pushing that 25%, by the time you close, there's a possibility you wouldn't be able to.
Oh, that's a really, really important one too. And we should mention financing, whether these communities, as you call them, or buildings, whether they are in litigation. That also can make a difference on financing and how much down payment you're going to need or how long it will take you to close the loan. So there's some of those considerations as well. I think it's also important to kind of let people know where the boundaries are, right? Because it used to be, I lived in M2I for a long time, and it used to be that was the eastern part of East Village.
And it's still considered the East Village.
And it is still East Village, but East Village has gotten a lot further east.
Right.
And the library coming in and things like that have really made a big difference. They did a great job with that library. It's beautiful. What they've done to sort of make the area stay a higher class area has also worked out very, very well. So things aren't what you think. And so you may look at a building like Metro and go, no, it's too far east for me. Take a look at Metro again. Take a look at Park Terrace again, if you passed on them in the past, because those buildings are very central now.
Well, now with Pinnacle that built their one rental tower and they're building a second, and Ballpark Village is coming and the Idea District is coming, so there's so much development happening to the east, to the west, and to the south that the East Village could be very central, in the next 10 years.
Right.
And you have a lot of people just group downtown as one specific neighborhood. There's 8 different districts right now. So residentially, you can buy Columbia, Little Italy, which they don't consider themselves downtown, but they're right on the outskirts. The core, Cortez Hill, which is right up on the hill from Little Italy, the Gaslamp District, of course, East Village, and the Marina District.
Right.
And then just going back to the parking thing, I think there's a couple of apps and phone numbers that you should definitely put in your smartphone before you move to downtown San Diego and before you relocate there. So Spot Share is something that some of the buildings have implemented, like Bayside. Their HOA pays for this app. It's called Spot Share. And homeowners can volunteer their spot when they're not using it, and the other homeowners can take advantage of those spaces. So that's great. Befriend your second home neighbors too.
Right.
That also works. Clean and Safe, and they're managed by the Downtown San Diego Partnership. There's a hotline that you can call. They keep the city clean and safe. They work on graffiti remediation, and they will relocate someone that might be sleeping next to your front door if you're in one of the townhomes. So they're a great company to have on standby for you on your speed dial. Zirx is an app that I just found at ZIRX, and that's like having your own valet service. So you pay a monthly fee, and anywhere you're at I think they operate outside of downtown San Diego also, but anywhere you're at, you can just notify them via the app. A parking attendant will show up. They'll park your car for you for however long you need it parked, and then they'll find you when you need it. So
Fantastic. Great stuff.
it's like having your own Uber driver. You can look at my website at yoursdhome.com or contact me direct on my cell via text or phone, 619-206-1892. And we're on all of the social media pages as well, Facebook, Hazelton and Associates, Twitter, San Diego Deal, Instagram, Hazelton and Associates, or Your SD Home. And we are going to do a little promotion today, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
For anyone who shares this video on their social media page, we will enter you in a drawing for a Passport dining card. So share away.
Nicole, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate your time. Stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else, commercial free. Our next guest is one of the top mortgage professionals in San Diego, a big real estate investor, and the vice president of Cornerstone Mortgage Group. Please welcome back to the show. My good buddy, Sean Cahan is here. What's up, Sean?
Hey, not too much. How are you?
Good, man. Now, today, this is a huge topic. All the real estate professionals out there who might be listening to this show right now or watching this video on Facebook or YouTube, pay attention, okay? Because for the most part, in the mortgage industry, the field is pretty level.
Exactly.
That's what they tried to do with it, right? They tried to make the playing field level across the board, but you have an unfair advantage, so to speak, that we're going to talk about today.
Exactly.
Let's go there.
I mean, not too unfair because there are two other mortgage banks local that have it, but I would say that we're head and shoulders above what they can offer in the fact that we automatically pay for the rush fee, so we're not extending the escrow time, but we also can offer, like in all litigation properties, all of the downtown single entity ownership more than 10%, and investment, with less than 51% occupancy. So there's really kind of no, let's say, holding back on any of our financing on our 30-year product, because it's not normally a non-warrantable condo is like limited to like a 5-year, 7-year portfolio, in the mid fives. And so with having this investor behind us, supporting us, we can now offer a 30-year product and just a little bit above the Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac rates.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So for people who are trying to get financing in multi-unit complexes, this happens a lot in downtown,
Yes.
right? Because it seems like the complexes there, like clockwork, once they get to a certain mark, boom, they go into litigation.
5 years.
Right.
Right?
Boom, there it
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
in
Guaranteed.
litigation. There's only a couple that haven't done that. M2I was one of them, which was surprising when that timeline came and went. But most of them, that's happening. And we mean litigation, meaning there's a lawsuit against the homeowners association, correct?
Yeah, for mostly construction defect, everyone will say, okay, hey, it's just about common ground. There was one lawsuit that was downtown where the gentleman was suing in regards to living above a restaurant, so people were outside of the restaurant smoking. Some of those lawsuits, we can work around, and not have to go this direction. But most of the time, there's always something in there when the lawyers and attorneys get involved. They like to, plug in the construction defect.
But unfortunately, if you're a real estate professional and you're trying to get someone into one of these places, or someone wants to live in one of those places, financing becomes very, very difficult as soon as the word litigation comes into the play. And sometimes people are just shut out. I've heard a lot of people say, no, it's in litigation, you can't get financing.
Most don't realize that they can get it, or they think that you have to bring in 35, 40, 50% down, and not everyone has it. So we can still do a 20% down litigation on a 30-year fix that's very safe, per se. I think a lot of people like the word safe today compared to using this 5 and the 7-1 arms. Even though those are not the type of products that got us into the turmoil, it's more of a subprime market, they still look at those 5-year and 7-year arms as unsafe.
They're scary. They're scary.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh my gosh, what's going to happen?
The fixed rate didn't even come around. I don't even know when it did. We should look that up. But I mean, the fixed rate came around late. Like, it was always an arm back in the day. If you got a mortgage from a bank, the bank wasn't going to fix in the rate.
No.
How could they do that? But they do it today, and a lot of it has to do with the paper shuffling that goes on afterwards. But with regard to this particular situation that you have, this particular investor, this advantage that you have in the marketplace, now you're known in the industry for getting deals done, number one.
Correct.
And getting deals done quick. That's how people know you. But what you can actually do with this, I was looking at the sheet, all litigation is okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Doesn't matter.
That's crazy, because this isn't just happening in downtown either. There are other multi-unit complexes that have litigation as well. UTC, Mission Valley, it happens there too. There's lots of places all over San Diego County. Low owner occupancy ratios. That's something that's become a really big deal, especially for people who want to use the FHA financing. You don't have that issue here.
No.
That's huge.
No, it's really big, and the reason that I brought him on was not to actually make money on that deal. Okay. I know most people say, hey, yeah, I got to make money. Yes, I'm going to make a little bit of money.
What's the catch, Sean? What's the catch? You're not going to make money on
I'm
the
going to
deal?
be honest. I'm telling the world. It's a loss leader for me.
Okay.
It really is. I want to get people into the home that they deserve, and I want them to be able to support the values that are, because if a property is in litigation, what happens is every single other person is affected by it, even if they're in the litigation or not in the litigation. But the more financing that I can bring to the table helps the value of that property and helps the turnover.
Right. Which
So
helps everybody. Helps
I'm using it
people in
as
real
a
estate.
loss leader. I'm paying the $995 rush fee, which my 2 other competitors will not and do not pay. I automatically will guarantee that I close in 25 days or less. I will automatically also be charging you less than 50 basis points on the loan. I don't care.
Wow. See, that's
what it is.
That's
It's
a
almost
crazy
like a
deal.
zero.
I told you he was going to bring in a secret today, and this is exactly what it is. It's not just a secret, it's an amazing opportunity, because you're taking something that's been a huge headache and a huge problem for a lot of people, and you're actually turning it into a huge positive. I mean, if someone is seeing this right now in the profession who's looking to buy in one of these areas, or who's been told, nope, you can't buy in this place because you can't get financing for the amount of down payment you have, now they can actually look at this and go, wait a minute, this is going to be great. Not only am I going to get in, but I'm going to get a great deal on top of it. Fantastic. You own a lot of real estate here in San Diego. I got a question for you.
Okay.
Have you ever owned a property in a building or a community where litigation happened from the time you bought it until the time either till today or till the time you sold it?
7 of them.
7 of them. So I'm just sensing that there's some sort of personal, it's personal.
Yeah, because it wasn't around when I bought
through
those.
this. You've seen it.
Yes.
You've experienced it as an owner who's watched that happen to your complex or your community, and you want to do something about it. That's what I'm sensing here.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I actually, for a while there, just focused on buying in those litigation, but I had an end goal, and the end goal did reach maturity, which was great for us. And so I kind of like to give back and say, hey guys, still come to me. You can still get those benefits, because I think that the prices right now are, a little bit higher than they were a couple years ago.
Yeah.
But people can still get really good opportunities by using this litigation financing on a 30-year product. So you can stay in there, you can turn it into a rental in the future if you want to, or you can buy it as an investment. We still offer it.
Yeah, this makes litigation speculation so much easier for people who look at those opportunities. If the market gets soft, or a building gets shut off because of litigation, let's go look and find a motivated seller in there. You don't have to come in with all cash now. You can get financing to go in because you've got high HOA default ratios are okay. Another roadblock for people in these circumstances. And more than 10% of the units in that particular property owned by by one entity is also okay, which has been another roadblock. When someone sees that opportunity and goes and scoops up more than 10% of the units, that's also put a freeze on people.
And you see that more in like Mission Valley, also in UTC. you know, when they went in and bought 100 or 200 or 300 units out of the complex as an investor, which was a really smart move on their side.
Brilliant.
But on the exit after the downturn, it's very difficult to get the financing.
Right.
So, and they're making concessions as well, like Fannie Mae to get a PERS is saying, hey, you know, you need to list all of your places and not rent them. Well, what owner is going to say, okay, hey, I need to sell my place. You know, I own 50 of them. I'm just going to list them for whatever, and I'm going to watch the values decrease because of it. They're just not going to do it. So it really does kind of keep a fair playing field for everybody.
Fantastic stuff, Sean Cahan. Really appreciate your time today. I think you're amazing for what you're doing, man.
Thanks, man.
Great stuff. One of the best mortgage professionals in town, Sean Cahan. If you need to get deals done, he's a guy you can count on. Stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else. Our next guest is our community connection in South County, South Bay, San Diego. He's also a real estate expert. Please welcome back to the show, Anthony Manzon. What's up, Anthony?
Ooh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, great to have you here. Today we're going to talk about 91913 specifically.
Yes.
What's going on there, what people should look for there, new construction, and how kind of that area, that zip code specifically is changing down in the South Bay. So what's the current state of the market down there right now?
Yeah, so in 91913, let's talk about monthly what's going on from July to August.
Okay.
So from July to August, we've seen actually prices start to decrease a little bit.
Interesting.
So in 91913 specifically for detached properties, we've seen homes decrease about $15,000, which isn't a surprise. You know, historically speaking, in 2013 and 14, from July to August, we did see the price decrease the same thing as well.
Interesting.
The interesting thing, though, is from August to September, in both 13 and 14, we've seen the prices kind of jump back up, the same amount they drop back down.
Huh. So you've identified the perfect time to buy a 91913.
Yeah, I mean, that actually is. And the cool thing is, the interesting is, the jump from August to September, that last big push, like the prices increasing about 15,000, is the last time prices go up for the rest of the year. So from September all the way throughout December to finish out the year, you actually see the prices start to level off and start going down from there. So September is the last, big push for prices to go up.
Interesting. Now, for people who don't know, necessarily where 91913 is, tell us geographically where that is, what it's next to.
Yeah, so 91913 is a part of Chula Vista. It's a zip code in Chula Vista, east of the 805, and it is west of the 125.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So this is a very popular area, obviously. There's been a lot of activity in this area. What can someone get on average in this area? What's the average home in this area?
Yeah, so the average home in 91913 is a home anywhere built from about 2000 to 2015. And they're still actually building homes in 2015 as well. So you get a pretty good age range, newer homes compared to other places in San Diego. The younger demographic, more families, ages from 34 to about 54, and a lot of families. To be honest, that's kind of what Chula Vista is known for.
Right.
Schools, families, and just kind of where you want to go to get that specific kind of living.
Right, and get good bang for your buck, too.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's one of the price per square foot wise, as far as being a newer area, getting newer construction. You look at some of the North County areas or the coastal areas, you're getting very old stuff that's very expensive. If you want something that's newer and you want something that is less expensive, much more affordable, then you're looking in places like 91913.
Yeah, and the average price point right now for detached property is about $520,000.
Which is awesome, because that's within the FHA limits. And anytime you get outside of that FHA limit, it starts to become more difficult for people to buy. But inside the FHA limits for borrowing money, you can get a lot of activity. So that's still happening down there. Who do you think would be a good fit to buy in this area? Is it just the families, or would someone retiring find a nice quiet place down there as well?
You know, honestly, I would say it's the best thing for families, but people who are retiring and want that kind of quiet lifestyle also, it's great. The reason why I really promote it to families is because almost all the schools east of the 805 are just top-notch schools. If you look at the ratings, all 8 and higher. So anywhere you move in 91913 or east of the 805, you're bound to be in a good school. So you start to see families start to gravitate towards that neighborhood. So if you're, a retiree, don't mind living around kids who still like to play in the streets and ride their bicycles, I mean, that could be a good place for you also.
Okay, fantastic. Now, I can't let this segment go by without talking about this jacket.
No.
Because I wanted to get some content in before I brought it up.
Yeah, let's do it.
It's very fresh, my friend.
Oh, that's what I'm about, being fresh. Thank you.
This is as fresh as the mega open houses that you guys do with Team Manzon, which have been killing it down there for people, getting them great money for their homes. And I want you to talk about the mega open house thing that you do, because we've got a couple of listings that you have right now in 91913 that we should bring up, and then we should talk about sort of the future of 91913. But let's talk about the mega open house and what you do to help people sell their homes for top dollar down there.
Yeah, great question. So with mega open houses, my idea around that is, how do we sell the home as fast as possible and get our clients the most money? I mean, when you sell a property fast, you not only guarantee they get the most money for it, but it relieves the stress of selling a home. I mean, imagine selling your home and, oh, we have a showing this time, this day. Can you be available? Showing this time, this day. The mega open house was kind of created to sell it the first day, minimize the stress, and just make the selling process as easy as possible for our sellers.
Right.
What it starts out with is just a bunch of pre-marketing. You know, we kind of think of ourselves like the Apple of real estate. You know, have you noticed they sell all their iPhones and all their iPads before they even hit the market?
Yeah.
That's kind of what we try to do, but we want to hit the market. You know, so we do so much pre-marketing, get everyone excited about the home in the neighborhood, so the grand opening, the big day we hit the market, we can get multiple offers and sell it above asking price.
Right, and so you're trying to be as efficient as possible, basically. The mega open house is like a big party.
No, it really is.
It's like a neighborhood party, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you're making food, you've got entertaining things going on. There's tons and tons of people because you've marketed it so much. Tons of activity there. You're going to find your buyers almost always with the mega open house. But specifically in 91913 right now, you've actually got 2 homes that are listed for sale that are right across the street. So I wonder, are you going to do one mega open house for both of those properties?
This one's going to be super cool. So I actually have 2 listings that are right across the street from each other. One of them is 1806 Sheep Ranch Loop. The other one is 1805 Sheep Ranch Loop. The cool thing is these homes aren't really competing because they're very different floor plans. One's 3 bedrooms, one 4 bedrooms. The other's 1,700 square feet. The other's 2,200 square feet. But we're basically going to make this thing like a big block party. Because the cool thing is, they're the 2 houses at the front of the community. So in order to get in, you have to drive past those 2.
Nice.
And you can't get in without seeing our big party going on. I'm actually going to buy like extra flags and extra like signage and everything, because it's not every day you have 2 listings right across the street from each other.
No kidding. And that's just the type of cool stuff that you guys are doing. I always love hearing about what you guys are doing with Team Manzon. You guys are really the innovators down in South Bay who are doing things differently, doing things big, doing things colorful. You're out there. You're the new age of real estate, and especially down in South Bay. So do you want to tell us about these properties specifically, as far as what's available in case there's a buyer listening right now?
Yeah, so one property, the one at 1805 Sheep Ranch Loop, that one is 3 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms, about 1,800 square feet, and we're entertaining offers at $490,000. The one across the street, the bigger model, is 1806 Sheep Ranch Loop, 4 bedrooms, 3.5 bathrooms, 2,200 square feet, entertaining offers at $525,000.
So both very, very affordable homes in a great neighborhood down there, 91913. What do you think the future holds for this particular area, as far as just you knowing what's going on, what developments are happening, what construction is happening, how construction is happening, which always tells you a little bit about when they're running out of land and whatnot. What do you think the future holds for 91913?
With regard to the construction and how they're built now, we're seeing a totally new layout of houses, which is unique to Chula Vista. In 91913, we're more used to the traditional household where family room, living room downstairs, bedrooms upstairs, and you have a pretty decent sized backyard. Now what we're seeing is, with the Millennium Project coming up, them building Chula Vista University, the new builds you're seeing these detached properties, completely detached. You have smaller yards, maybe the size of I would say patios, but now they're building the properties taller straight up, and where you're having 3-story properties.
Interesting.
And they're detached, so you're seeing the family room, living room downstairs, bedrooms and bathrooms on the 2nd floor, and then you're seeing upstairs lofts where the whole 3rd floor is just a loft. And that's new to Chula Vista, but we do see that in Temecula here and there. So
yeah, no, it's around San Diego County, but new to Chula Vista.
Yeah,
very interesting. So that would lead me to believe that the amount of land available to build on is, becoming short, and therefore you should expect to see prices probably increase as a result. Supply and demand, right?
Exactly. So yeah, it's exciting. It's an exciting time. I mean, next year in Chula Vista, I have no idea what it's going to look like. It could look like a whole new city.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one thing I do know for sure, if you're looking to buy or sell real estate in South County here in San Diego, in the South Bay, Chula Vista specifically, call Team Manzon, Anthony Manzon. Thanks for being here, Anthony. Really appreciate your time.
No, thanks for having me.
Awesome. Stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else, commercial free. Our next guests are the Smarter San Diego reverse mortgage experts, the Harms team, father-daughter Scott and Christina Harms. How you guys doing?
Good to be here.
Good to see you.
All right, great to see you all again. It's great to have you back on the show for the third time now.
Lots of good information to go
Great
over.
information talking about underfunded retirements, how reverse mortgages work, how you can use them as a financial tool. And today, I really wanted to hit something that I think has been a big topic in the arena of the financial assessment, which is the changes that came back in April to the reverse mortgage industry. We've had some time now. There's been a few months to kind of see how it's going. Scott, you think it's a good thing, right?
I really do think it's a good thing. Now, FHA had about an 8% default rate on their reverse mortgage portfolio, which is about twice what's acceptable on traditional mortgages. So how do you get that default rate down? Well, you identify where the problems are. And you might say, well, how do you default on a reverse mortgage? There are no mortgage payments. Well, defaults were coming from borrowers who could not afford to pay their taxes, property taxes, or homeowners insurance. So this new financial assessment is a pretty simple qualifying process that we, Christine and I, work with our clients personally on, step by step, work through the process just to identify that they can make their property tax and homeowner insurance payments.
Yeah, so it sounds like it's a big deal, right? I mean, but is it really that big of a deal to go through the financial assessment process?
It's really not that big a deal. And again, FHA is just looking for the 8% of the homeowner population that can't pay their taxes and insurance. What that really means, Derek, is that 92% of homeowners will pass financial assessment. It's important to think about because in our previous segment we talked about long-term care insurance and that 70% of applicants between the ages of 60 and 79 are turned down.
Right.
So another reason why a reverse mortgage is a great alternative to long-term care, even with the financial assessment component.
Those 8% that may not pass the financial assessment qualifications, it's a really great opportunity for them. We're identifying, these are the people that probably can't afford to stay in their home anyhow, but what we might be able to do is sell their current home and downsize. They may be able to afford to stay in a smaller purchase property. You can do that with a reverse mortgage for purchase. Most people don't know that, but if you can do about 50% of a down payment, you can do a reverse mortgage for the other 50% and never have a payment on that home that you live in.
So, Scott, when we jump back to financial assessment, what does this mean? What am I qualifying for now? Because if I'm 62 years old, I'm a homeowner, and I'm thinking about a reverse mortgage, and now I hear, oh, now you've got to have good credit. Now you've got to have a certain amount of assets. I mean, what is it that they're really using to qualify people with?
It's a little bit like how the VA loans have worked for years in that they're calculating a residual income number. And that's going to be after pensions, Social Security, investment income, whatever your sources of income are, total those up, subtract housing expenses, taxes, insurance, any monthly payments that show on your credit report, and then they use a formula to figure utilities, what those cost each month. So then take your monthly expenses from your monthly income, and they're looking for a residual number there. And it's fairly low. It's under $600 for a one-person household and around $1,000 residual for a two-person household. And so far, all the clients we worked with on financial assessment, we've helped them work through the paperwork, gather their documents, approved, no problem.
Okay, so you haven't seen it really affect things in a negative way then. It's just kind of making people more aware of the fact of here's what's required in order for this to work out.
It really, and I think it changes the whole financial world's perspective on what a reverse mortgage is. It's now a mainstream, underwritten mortgage product, and I think some of the really unwarranted bad press from the past will be going away.
Yeah, because a lot of that was based on people getting reverse mortgage or being sold a reverse mortgage, right? Who probably didn't need one or shouldn't have gotten one, but they did. And now with the assessment, you're able to use it as a planning tool. It's part of, the reverse mortgage is now a strategic planning tool for your financial future, and that's really how it should be used anyway.
It really should be, and there's really a two-step process to getting the reverse mortgage. Step number one is the financial assessment, which again, we help line by line our clients go through the financial assessment. And then second, and HUD's required this for a long time, it's independent HUD-approved counseling. So once we've worked through and identified that, yeah, we think you're going to qualify, no problem, our borrowers do the counseling with that counselor just to make sure that they're thinking about the right things, making good decisions before they proceed with the reverse mortgage.
Okay, so let's go all the way to this point where I'm a 62-year-old homeowner. I'm thinking about using reverse mortgage as a tool. I sit down, I meet with you, or let's say I go to one of your events and I learn a little bit more from one of your events, and then we meet with you afterwards. We discuss, we set aside a time for a consultation, sit down, and okay, I decide, all right, I want to do this. I want to do reverse mortgage. What does that process look like? How long does it take for you to execute from there?
It's really about a 30 to 45 day process from the time you decide, hey, let's go forward. First step is we give you a simple list of documents that you need to get together. And the good news is we're local. We're hands-on. And that's why we're the harms team, because Christina and I together or individually will hold our clients' hands all the way through the process. That's important because you might have a 75, 80-year-old homeowner that hasn't had to gather documentation for a loan approval in 20, 25 years. It's really, really pretty simple documentation. We're there to help pull it together. Once that documentation is pulled together, we fill out all the application paperwork for the client's signature.
Wow.
We get them ready with the FHA guidelines on the HUD independent counseling. And once the counseling's done, it's off to the races. Everything is kind of behind the scenes at the lender at that point.
Okay, so for me then, I really don't have to do a whole lot if I'm that homeowner. I mean, I educate myself, help determine a strategy with your all's help, and then really you do all the heavy lifting.
That's one of the big benefits of working with the harms team is we pre-qualify you pretty thoroughly, take a look at all of the payments, all of the credit, all of your income before ever having you go to counseling. So we make sure our clients don't spend any money before we think the deal will go.
Okay, fantastic. So what's the catch? It's all, it sounds so amazing. I mean, you have the opportunity to use the equity in your home as a financial tool to help fund your retirement, as we've discussed in the past, help fund long-term care, or as an alternative if you can't qualify for long-term care. What's the catch? What's the bad news? Is there anything from this financial assessment?
Really no catch for financial assessment. And with a lot of our clients, we actually have their kids involved in the decision-making process, their adult children. And we really like that because it is a family decision. And even for our clients who can't qualify, that may be a red flag for them or their kids that they need to be looking at other life choices, for the rest of their retirement.
A fantastic point. If you don't qualify, based on the assessment, the way it's set up, that means, hey, maybe we should be looking at something else to see why we're not qualifying, and maybe you could qualify if some other changes were made.
That's right.
Okay, fantastic stuff. Thank you so much for being here, Scott and Christina Harms, our reverse mortgage expert teams.
Thank you. And please check out our website for upcoming workshop in your area, time and date. You can register right on the website, or call Christina and I personally to register for the workshop or to set up a personal consultation.
Great stuff, guys. Really appreciate your time. Stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else, commercial free. Our next guest is the all-time champion on the real estate debate and our community connection with Carmel Valley. Please welcome to the show real estate expert Elizabeth Story is here.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm doing well.
What's up?
Oh, just crushing it.
I noticed. So I have a question for you, Elizabeth.
Okay.
Carmel Valley,
All right.
your area. Now, it seems to me, and I'm just a guy, so you're the expert, but it seems to me the Carmel Valley marketplace might be peaking right here. one of the hottest markets in San Diego for the past 2 to 3 years. Is it possible that we might be seeing a peak in prices in Carmel Valley right now?
I don't think we've seen the absolute peak, but we are definitely flattening out a little bit. Carmel Valley has only had about 1.8% appreciation in the last 12 months, whereas San Diego County's had 5% and California as a whole has had 6%. But I'm not really looking at this as necessarily a bad thing, but more of a market correction. So the population in Carmel Valley has grown since 2010, 66%. That's some pretty staggering growth. In fact, one of the highest in the county and in the state. Now, the good thing about that is there's been some new construction to keep up with the demand, but it did also increase the resale prices. We did see gains anywhere from 10 to 20% in the last 5 years, but the market has definitely stabilized in the last 12 months with a 1.8% gain. But again, I feel like that's more of a better thing. And for example, if you're looking to sell, then you don't have to be afraid of losing huge gains anymore. The market has flattened out. You don't need to hold on anymore because you're not going to be holding on for such, staggering numbers as 10%, 20% appreciation. You can go ahead and sell now and feel comfortable that you're not going to lose gains in the coming years.
We should also talk about the basis too, because we see percentage increases, and a lot of times people say, oh, well, this area of town was up 10% and this area of town was only up 4%. Yeah, well, the average price over here is $450,000. The average price here is $1 million.
Right.
So we should talk about the basis too, because 1.8% doesn't sound like a lot, but if it's $1 million house, you're still talking about some serious cash.
The average purchase price in Carmel Valley now is still under $1 million. It's in the 900 range. And in the last 5 years, at various times, it has been in the 900 range. So when you look at just the average purchase price, the numbers kind of go up and down, and I've hit the same number over and over again. If you were to look at everything that's on the market in Carmel Valley right now, there's 200 homes for sale on the MLS. They range anywhere from $350,000 up to $10 million. But the bulk are going to be right in that 1 million range, that 900,000 range. So it still has some affordability for who's living there.
Right.
And that's why I predict it to be a very stable market, because there's some really interesting statistics about Carmel Valley that a lot of people might not know. It is one of the most educated communities in San Diego County. It has over 80% of its residents there have at least a bachelor's degree or higher, and a very high percentage of graduate degrees. It's also a very well-employed community, almost non-existent unemployment rate, and very, very low amounts of distressed sales. So it also has wonderful schools. They, Business Week recognized Canyon Crest Academy as number 117 on their top 500 list of schools in the U.S. Their average SAT score was 1904, and their graduation rate that they reported was 100%. This is
1904 was the average?
Average.
Send your kids to that school. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah.
Send your children to that school.
Right.
Wow. Now, I should tell you, too, also just my personal experience, a lot of the people that I know in Carmel Valley, which is, let's call it a handful of people. I live in Del Mar, so not too far. A lot of my peeps are on the Del Mar side, but in Carmel Valley, I know a handful of people that are all very well off, brilliant people. So I think the culture there makes sense for what's going on.
Right.
And I think people just wanted something newer. That's why Carmel Valley's crushing Del Mar right now.
Carmel Valley also has a really high owner occupancy rate, which keeps the neighborhood stable. Carmel Valley is right around 70% owner occupancy, where the rest of the county is at 50 or less.
Right.
So it's a very owner-occupied community, a very educated community, an affluent community. And something very interesting, which a lot of people might not know, it's very low in vices. Now, vices in the real estate world are maybe a little bit different than what you and I might think of vices, or they might be the same thing. You're talking casinos, liquor stores, strip joints, if you will.
Strip joints.
Carmel Valley is very low.
Where's the strip joint in Carmel Valley? I don't have any strip joints in here.
You're not going to find a lot of drive-through liquor stores on the way to a strip joint in Carmel Valley. It's just not that kind of community. The stat is actually less than 1/3 compared with the state's average. So
somewhere right now there's a guy going, I need to open a strip joint in Carmel Valley. Brilliant idea.
You know what?
It may not work, though.
Let me tell you something, and we'll probably get to this a little bit later when we do the One Paseo update. But if there's one thing I know about Carmel Valley, it's a very active community.
True that.
People who bought in Carmel Valley, they want to be there, they plan to be there, they're going to stay, and they're going to let their voices be heard. So by God, you are not going to be changing that community in a way that they don't see fit. So good luck with that drive-through strip joint liquor store.
It's not going to work, buddy, just so you know.
Right.
It's a good idea, but it's not going to work. Let's talk about One Paseo.
Okay.
What's the update on this thing? I mean, it's got to be. I've been seeing things in the Del Mar Times and stuff like that, but to me, it's all noise. No one knows the details like you do. So tell me what's up.
So let me give you the One Paseo update. So the last community meeting was on August 19th. That included a presentation on 3 different proposed and scaled down new plans. Now, residents might say they were lower and they were scaled up, and now they're scaling back down, because that's really kind of the truth in the journey. They settled their lawsuit in May 2015. They're scheduled to go before the community again in October, November, and December through the Planning Commission, and December and January through the City Council. Now, if everything goes according to schedule, that means that they could be voting again as early as January. If it were passed, it would still be another 18 months out on construction. They're currently still in the design development phase, and one of the biggest concerns has been and continues to be traffic. So in the last proposal, they reduced the average trips down to 14,000, and the current majority of the trips are still on the retail side, with 6,650 per day, and office and residential both around 3,600. Now, what the proposal says is that the people who are coming to work are coming in at a different time. They're coming in at the time that the people who are living there are leaving, unless it's a live-work plan where you're walking. So they're saying the traffic's going the opposite directions. And then they're saying in the middle of the day, the retail is coming in and out. So the plan, or the proposal, if you will, is that the traffic is going to be stepping around each other.
Conveniently, we'll miss everyone on the way in and out. Perfectly.
Yes. No, whether that's true, I don't know. And again, the really hot button topic is that some of this is dependent on freeway connections, which would be 15 years after the project is done. That is a long time to figure out if the traffic is really going to work. But they are working on timing 8 different intersections so that hopefully it keeps a better traffic flow. But we'll just have to see how that turns out.
Yeah, I guess we will, because, I mean, there's a lot of guessing going on, and everybody's guess seems to fit with their agenda so far. So I don't know what to expect, but the way I see it, progress is good. Overbuilding can be bad, but in an area like this, it's such an extremely desirable area. I think the inventory would be fantastic. I don't know how great it would be for homeowners, to see that inventory hit the marketplace, but only time will tell. They got to get it approved first, right?
Well, like I said before, if you have an extremely similar residence to one of the ones that's going to be going on the market, I would definitely say sell now, call me now, or you're going to have to wait till a couple of years after, because when it's in the brand new release phase and you've got a similar property and it's a resale that's identical to a new construction, it's going to be very hard to compete. So like I said before, sell before or a few years after.
Great stuff from Elizabeth's story. Elizabeth, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. If you'd like to have your opinion heard regarding the One Paseo development, please contact me. All of your constructive feedback will be shared, and a few homeowners will actually be here in the studio talking on air about your thoughts. I'm also doing a strategic seller and buyer program for the rest of the year and throughout the holidays, where if you contact me to buy or sell, I will be making a donation to a local charity that supports veterans or foster youth. I look forward to speaking with you very soon.
Thanks for watching Smarter San Diego TV. You are now smarter than everyone else. Hey, great show, guys. That's a wrap. Jade, what's your schedule look like? You mind breaking down the set?
Not today, Derek. I'd love to, but there's waves out there. I gotta go. Angela? Nikki?
Yeah, I gotta go beat traffic. And I think Nikki's making something up there.
Look at this. We did this. We did all of this.